Jesus has been behind every detail of my life, even using the ugly and terrible things to form and shape me with the utmost care and attention. Around the age of 18, I began to experience excruciating pain in my abdomen and was diagnosed with acute ulcerative colitis. On my 21st birthday, I went into the hospital where I spent Christmas that year, and after 5 weeks of not getting better, I was transferred to Boston Medical Center by ambulance, where I underwent an almost 8-hour surgery, where they removed my entire large intestine. Miraculously, and I mean miraculously, this surgical fix kept me reasonably healthy for the next 17 years. After the failure of a business and a bankruptcy in 2015, I began to experience some familiar yet long suppressed abdominal pain that really began to worry me. As it turns out, scar tissue from my original surgery created another blockage in my intestine. It was during this time that I reached my emotional low point. I had lost my business, I was in a job that I hated, I had the stress of a new baby, and now my sickness was resurfacing. During this time, crippling depression and anxiety had taken hold of my mindset. There were many times when I pondered suicide, but when I couldn't bear it any longer, I gave it all to Jesus. I endured another major abdominal surgery in 2016, and when that didn't fix the problem, I had another one in 2018. I can remember clinging to this wooden cross when I lay there in the hospital, just praying that God would spare my life so that I could be present for my family. In that hospital bed, I chose Jesus and allowed Him to fight my battle because I no longer had the strength to do it on my own. I'd like to tell you that when I gave my life to Jesus, my life got immediately better. Well, it didn't, and I recognize that it doesn't always happen that way. But you have to be persistent in your journey with the Lord, and He wants to hear from us. Remember, prayer is the best wireless connection, and when you can't find a prayer, let a song be your prayer. I have heard the voice of God in my life. Most of all, I hear the voice of God in song lyrics. And here's one of my favorites by Zach Williams. You split the sea so I could walk right through it. My fears are drowned in perfect love. You rescued me so I can stand and say, I am a child of God. When I was in the hospital in 1999 for 5 weeks, I had met a nurse there named Mark, and we connected well over that time. I had actually given him a lighthearted book to lift his spirits and encourage him. 17 years later, when I was back in the hospital again, Mark was an operating nurse, and he was there again to be there by my side. 5 years later, Mark was dying of brain cancer. When I went to visit him in his last days, he could barely speak, but he pointed to that book sitting on the shelf in his living room that he had kept and treasured for 23 years. Apparently that gift was a blessing to him, but seeing that on his shelf after all that time was an incredible blessing to me. I can only hope that my story and kindness I've shown along the way can affect people indefinitely.